Do you know what really sucks? Is sitting down to edit your project and realizing that you have gaps in your coverage or shots missing. You need to have a really good, specific, and detailed shot list. Head over to filmmakersecrets.com/shot list, SHOTLIST, to get a killer shot list template along with some training where I show you step by step exactly how to use it.
And so after like 10 months, I think almost a year of being broke and like sacrificing all this time and stuff, he went to go get the funding and then just decided not to come back.
Filmmakers have the power to evoke emotion, inspire thought, and drive universal change in this world. So how does a filmmaker thrive in an environment that is almost intentionally designed to bring you down? That is the question, and this podcast reveals the answer. What's happening, filmmakers? It's George VK. Thank you so much for tuning in. And I am so elated to introduce my guest, Whit Ingram, who is the author of the workbook, Get Your Story Straight. And I love the little subtitle here, a starter pack for writing your stupid story so you don't seem so stupid anymore, or something like that. So, Whit, go ahead and say what's up to our filmmakers and reveal the one filmmaker secret that you've been keeping from us.
Oh, that was an awesome intro. First of all, thank you for having me on here. This is literally my second podcast ever. So the one, I guess, like a filmmaker secret that I've been really adamant about when I meet or talk to new filmmakers or people who are just starting out, or even people who are in the industry but don't necessarily understand narrative film or editing, or like, you know, there's different aspects to filmmaking. Like some people stay in audio their whole lives and they've never touched a camera. But I've just been working a lot with people who do a lot of product videos and stuff like that. And I always find it curious why people don't put more work into their shot lists. For me, when I get on set, I'm kind of all over the place, especially when you're the director. You're getting pulled in a million different directions. Everyone has a question. There's always a fire to put out. Something always goes wrong. So when you're on set, you really do want to be prepared as possible. And if I don't have that shot list, I'm so like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like what I prepared all this stuff. Like, I don't remember what the shot was. Like, let me go and look. And so I think having a detailed shot list, just preparing in general is the most important thing, especially before a production. But I think having a shot list when you're the director is going to save you so much time when you're on set, because you don't want to, time is money on set. Like you really have to work fast. You really have to know your stuff in order to get scheduling on time. Like there's sometimes hundreds of people depending on you to get this stuff done. But yeah, I don't know if that's a secret or not, but like I always get so like mad when I'm on a set or anywhere and they like don't have the details figured out. With the director, that's your job, is to partially like do the schedule and figure out the shots and come up with every single thing you should be figuring out the day of. And I get there and they're just trying to figure out shots and everything. And I'm like, this should already be done.
I think with how many sets
so much time
that I've been on, it's amazing how many times people don't actually have a shot list. And so I think, you know, in the grand scheme of things, that is a secret to some people that are not aware. The one thing that I always preach is if you're going to have just one thing from your pre-production done, let it be the shot list. Get that out because that's going to be what you reference and you look at and you check things off the whole time. And it's going to save your butt in production. That's awesome. Thank you for that little gold nugget. Let's think about our lives as a movie. I like to think about my life as a movie. So I think a lot of filmmakers are familiar with plot point one, or sometimes it's called the inciting incident, which is this big grand decision that a character has to make in the course of their arc. And it's a moment that really kind of changes that character's course that they go on, their path. So what was that moment in your past that sort of set you off on this course of filmmaking and made you feel like this is my calling? This is the audience that I'm called to serve. Can you bring yourself back to that moment and tell me a story?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty easy. In high school, I had a lot of different things that I wanted to do. I was very creative. I think I took a test that said my brain was like 95%. What is the right brain or something crazy? Like I have no left brain. It's like literally all creative. And so I loved music. I really wanted to go into music. I'm a terrible singer. So it was already an uphill battle. And then I took a TV and video production class in high school. And our first assignment was music videos. And I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe like this is something where I can incorporate music, but I can also be super creative. And as soon as I did that project, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. It just, everything clicked. I was like, I can be creative. I can, have music. I can have entertainment. Like it's fun. Like I love the change of pace. It's difficult. It's challenging. Like there's a lot of different things you can do with it. And technology is always changing. And I love storytelling too. And so I could tell stories. And then as I started doing more and more projects, I was like, okay, maybe I just want to be a music video director. And then after I started writing more and more and more, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a filmmaker. And that was when I was 15. So I feel like I got kind of lucky, I guess, in a sense that I really knew what I wanted to do by the time I graduated. And I went to school for film. It took me 6 years to graduate, but I did it. I hate school, but I love film so much. And luckily I had that, or else I probably wouldn't have graduated because the only reason I went was because I love film so much. And I think, I don't know like exactly what it was, but I think like having all those elements combined really solidified for me what I'm meant to do with my life. As hard as it feels hard to say stuff like that, like when you're so passionate about something and you're around people that don't necessarily get it. And like, it just kind of seems silly, but like, I'm trying to say it more and more because it is true. Like I am very passionate about film. Like, I don't know what I'd be doing with my life if I didn't have it. And so I just started saying it more and more. And now here we are talking about film, how much I love it 10 years later.
There you have it, filmmakers. You're not the only one. Other filmmakers out there feel the same passion. And I'm curious, what, in your own, simplest terms, what is it about filmmakers that makes them so passionate about filmmaking?
That's like a really good question. I think we're all a little masochistic. Like we all love really hard. I mean, filmmaking is so hard. And I know people don't necessarily understand it. And I've been so broke. And I've been like so defeated and had so much crap happen. And I can't stop. I was just like, well, I guess I'm just going to have to do it again. I'm going to have to try again. I'm going to have to start over. And I guess like just it's a form of expression for me. Like I love trying to inspire people or trying to tell a story or show a different perspective. And to me, that's one of the most artistic things you can do is, oh, my cat's calling me.
So cute.
Yeah, it's okay. But like, I think one of the most inspiring things that you can do today is become a storyteller and expressing things that other opinions and inspiring people to like look at things differently, or just highlighting the beautiful things about life and being a human being and connecting with people. And I think that's a big thing for me because I was kind of like an outcast growing up. And I think like I had like this drive to tell stories, but also like connect with people through those stories. And I think as filmmakers, a lot of us just really want to express our love for storytelling or whatever it is that they fell in love with filmmaking.
That's beautiful, beautifully put. And I think just as even human beings, it's such a universal skill to tell stories. That's how, stories get passed on from generation to generation. And now we have this visual medium of film that we're able to magnify and amplify this art form to the masses. And, that's the ultimate goal. But even if you hit, the 10 people that watch your little YouTube video, it impacted somebody. So don't lose hope. I think that's the moral of the story here. That's great. And, you touched on something that's quite a vulnerable spot. You said you were broke. There's a lot of stuff that happened along the way. What would you say was your biggest roadblock in kind of on your path of building up to that moment where you can really clarify and declare that, yes, I'm a filmmaker? What was a roadblock that you can tell our filmmakers about?
I guess so. I actually have like a pretty big roadblock. A lot of people wouldn't blame me for quitting filmmaking because of it. But about 2.5 years ago, I was dating someone who was helping me produce my first feature. I had a friend reach out who was in the Vietnam War, who wrote a book, and he wanted to turn it into some type of movie. And so I adapted it for him for 1.5 years. It took. It was a very difficult journey because it was a true story, a Vietnam War piece. Never done it before. Was also the author also has extreme PTSD. So I had to deal with that. And it was just a lot. And it was a beautiful story. And I was so excited to have that as my first feature. And so after like 10 months, I think almost a year of being broke and like sacrificing all this time and stuff, he went to go get the funding and then just decided not to come back. That was like 4.5 years into the relationship. I had to go tell everyone that the project wasn't happening anymore. Like a week later at the convention that I met everyone at, I had no money. Like I actually had negative money in my account. I had no job because I'd been working on this script forever and I had no car. So I went home at 29 years old, just completely like, well, I guess that was it, like 10 years of my life just down the drain. And it took me probably about 3 months later, someone from school reached out to me and said, hey, I have a camera operating job, like, I don't know if you're interested. I know you're doing freelance. And I was just like, okay, yeah, I'll take it. Like, whatever. Like, as long as it's filmmaking, that's fine. Like, and I can get some money. And that like catapulted me into just like being in film constantly and at least being behind the camera constantly. And it just like, after a while, I was just like, yeah, I still have to do this. I still have to be a filmmaker. Like I could be miserable having something like that happen, have everything blow up again. But I'd be miserable doing a normal job, 9 to 5, like not working in film. And so I like weighed the pros and cons. I was like, I'm just going to be miserable being a filmmaker. That sounds good. I want to be a really sad artist. Like, how cliche is that? But I think that was like a big moment for me. And then it kind of, in a way, like it made it so I'm not really scared to fail anymore. Because I feel like that was one of the biggest heartbreaks, but also like the thing I was so terrified of was being a failure. And like going through all that school and all that time and like being so broke and having everyone just, not understand. And then like having to go home and be like, yeah, I lost. So now I'm in a really good place right now. And I'm so glad I didn't give up. And I think that's why I love like connecting with other filmmakers too, because I know a lot of people who've struggled so much and they still go and they still want to make stuff. And it's so hard. And like, we all just kind of struggle together and we're all like, just, being sad together, especially this last year, like I had so much stuff and like it all like fell apart. And so like, well, it's going to fall apart again, probably in a couple of months. Everything's going to be fine. Cause like, even when things do fall apart, other things fall into place. And now I'm doing like 10 times better than I ever thought I would in just 2 years.
You got a job that you actually enjoy, right?
Right. Yes.
Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I actually have a full-time job, but it is a video directing job with a great company who does home furnishing type stuff. And they also have a nonprofit we actually just interviewed Elizabeth Smart today. I don't know if you know who that is. She's part of our foundation. And so like I just get to constantly direct. I'm one of their new video directors, constantly making stuff like nonprofit type stuff. And it's just turning me into a better filmmaker, and I get to be on set like every single day. It's awesome.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Whit. I think it's hard to be vulnerable, especially with a person that you just met. So I really appreciate you completely laying it down on the table, which brings me to our next point about getting your story straight. Tell me what propelled you to write this workbook.
That's a good question. I was thinking about it too. I was like, this is a weird thing for me to do because I don't really feel like I'm an author. I am a writer, but not necessarily like this type of stuff. I think partially I do a lot of script consulting on the side sometimes, and I would get kind of the same roadblocks with beginner writers. Like they didn't know these basics. They didn't know, like the structure. They didn't know their main character. It was just like little things like that would always kind of like, it would make it so hard for me to work with them because they didn't necessarily know the basics of screenwriting. And so I just thought, well, maybe I could like make a pamphlet or something that I could send them before I actually talk to them on the phone or in person for a consultation. And then it just sort of snowballed from there. And I was like, well, maybe, I'll make it funny and like, like entertain people. Oh, well, what else can I do? Oh, maybe I'll make like a worksheet that will force them to write stuff down. So it's kind of like homework, I guess, in a way. It kind of just spiraled from there. And then COVID hit and that really like helped me finish it because I was in the house so much. This was last February, I think, like March. So about a year ago is when I wrote it. And I was so nervous, like sending it out. I had everyone like read it and I had my mom read it out loud to me because I was like, please tell me how this sounds. I don't know how good it is. Like, does this make sense? And then I just kind of said, well, it'd be great to like give to people. I really believe in it. And I actually had fun writing it. I was like, I actually really like talking about this, which is why it ended up being longer than I thought it'd be. And yeah, I guess the rest is history. It was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm putting this weird thing out. I hope people like it. I don't know.
Well, it definitely shows that you had fun with it because just reading through the half of it that I got through, it's clear that the voice is just very whimsical and lighthearted, and it's easy to read. It's easy to understand. And it's all concepts and aspects of storytelling that should be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Clear and obvious, but they're also the things that are hard to really wrap your head around unless somebody sits you down and says, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3, this is how you do it. And I think it's laid out beautifully. I love the illustrations. Did you do the illustrations?
No, I'm a terrible drawer. I actually found those on dafont.com. I went on there to find a font, and then I just kind of saw those. Like, I can't remember how. Maybe I looked them up, and I was like, oh, that'd be kind of cool to have like some illustrations. And then I found that, and I was like, okay, that's perfect. It was just something funny to do.
It's just beautiful, and it's sort of almost like prose at times. It's almost like poetry. Tell me about the very last quote at the end here. Now go out there and be somebody by Dave Chappelle. Why does that speak to you?
That just randomly came to my head when I was at the end of the book, and like it made me laugh so hard. I love Dave Chappelle. It's in one of his stand-ups. He's not talking about storytelling, obviously, but it just came to my head, and I just thought I'd put in like a funny, encouraging line to like, now go do it, go write it. It'll be fun.
What's a storytelling secret that you can share with us, Whit? I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah. So I would say know your main character. More importantly, how does your character change? There are so many times where I talk to screenwriters or storytellers and they're just talking about an event, but they're not talking about the person. And really, storytelling is about a person. Like even the biggest stories with a huge entourage, there's one person that's the main character that you're following along with. And so if your character doesn't have some sort of change at the end of the film, we didn't grow with them. We didn't learn anything. There was no point to this story. Like, why did I even watch that? This person was just themselves the whole time. And I don't know if there's like an answer to why we have to change, but it just doesn't really feel like a full story unless your main character changes somehow from the beginning of the film to the end of the film. And I think that's like, if you're going to focus on main character, that's like one of the biggest things to focus on.
I just had a little epiphany. I think you hear a lot of people saying whenever they see a movie that wasn't up to their standards, they'll say there was no story. But perhaps what they're talking about is exactly what you just mentioned, that there really wasn't a change, a shift, a transformation that happened with the lead character or a character that was supporting them, perhaps. So that's a really interesting perspective about focusing on and I think you talk about this at the very beginning. You know, if the story isn't working out, it might have to do with your character. And I think that's such a brilliant little golden nugget. So thank you for that. Whit, tell me where people can go and find out about this book, because it's only $10. And I think that is absolutely ridiculous. I think everybody listening to this podcast needs to go and purchase it right now. Where can they go?
So it's on my website, whitingramfilm.com. And I also have my website on my Instagram normally, Witty Film Girl. But yeah, it's on my website. I'm in the process of getting it onto my Instagram. I should be doing that like tonight. So if you do go to my Instagram, it should be there by this time at Witty Film Girl. So I'll make it really easy. You guys just click on a button and can download it. It's a digital download.
Perfect. Beautiful. Okay. I have one last final question for you, Whit. What is your desert island movie? So if you could only watch one movie for the rest of your life, what is it?
Man, that's such a hard question out there for filmmakers.
Because that's different from your favorite film. It's perhaps not a film that you can watch all the time if it's your favorite, right?
True. Yeah.
I'll tell you mine if it helps.
Okay.
Mine is The Fifth Element, but my favorite movie is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. But I couldn't watch that for the rest of my life because it's just too real. But The Fifth Element is fantastic and sci-fi. Great. I love it.
Yes, I agree. Okay. I think I'm going to have to go with Kill Bill Volume 2.
Nice. I like that you're specific.
Yes, it's Volume 2 because that's more the story, less action, more story. And it's kind of got a bunch of stuff, humor, action all over the place. I love Uma Thurman and she's great. So yeah, I choose that one.
Awesome. Okay. One more time, where can people go to find out more about you, Whit?
My Instagram's probably the best, Witty Film Girl. Just spelled like the word witty. And then my website, whitingramfilm.com. I also have a YouTube with Witty Film Girl that has a couple videos on it.
Beautiful. So there you have it, Filmmakers, Whit Ingram. I'll have all of the links that you need down in the show notes. So please go check out, get your story straight, follow Whit on her journey through becoming an amazing female filmmaker, director, entrepreneur, author. I'm looking forward to getting you on the show again next time when your next project starts to really pick up steam. Thank you so much for being on Filmmaker Secrets.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
If you like that, then you are going to love my Cine Racing Challenge. This is a 7-day filmmaking competition where your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to write, shoot, and edit a short 60-second film in just 7 days for your one chance to win with over $10,000 in prizes. So head over to cineracing.com. That's cineracing.com to get registered. Spots are filling up fast and the timer is ticking before the next Cine Racing Challenge launches. So be sure to head over to cineracing.com right now to get registered. I'll see you over there.